Did you know that one of the things that can protect people from burning out at work is having some control over how they do their job? Not control in a bossy way. I mean, the ability to use judgment, make reasonable decisions, solve problems, and not feel like every little thing has to be approved by someone above them. That matters, especially in a busy clinic. Because when people are given responsibility but no real decision making power, they start to feel stuck. They are expected to carry the work, but they are not trusted to think through the work. And over time, that does something to a person. And here is where it gets uncomfortable for us as managers. Sometimes we say we want our team to grow, but then we keep taking back the decision. We answer the question before they have had the time to think. We solve the problem before they have had the time to practice judgment. We step in because it's faster, cleaner, safer, and honestly because it feels good to be needed, right? Or is it just me? I learned that lesson the hard way on my one afternoon off, sitting at a picnic table with my mom, watching my pineapple ice cream melt while the clinic pulled me right back in 30 miles away. Welcome to the Unbreakable Woman's Journey. I'm Jules, coach, mentor for few and accidental clinic managers who got handed a title, a team, and exactly zero training, and somehow still showed up anyway. Today, we are opening a brand new season in the last two seasons, we spent a lot of time talking about what happens inside you when you become the leader. We talked about the pressure, self-doubt, the chaos, the courage, and what it feels like to find your voice when you are still trying to figure out if you belong in the room. Now, this season, we are shifting the focus. We are going to talk about your team because the longer you lead, the more you realize something important. Leadership is not only about how strong you become, it is also about who becomes stronger because you led them that way. That sounds simple, but it's not easy, especially if you are the kind of manager who cares deeply, sees everything, notices every gap, and feels responsible for making sure nothing falls apart. There is a trap in that kind of leadership. It does not feel like a trap in the beginning, but it feels like trust. It feels like trust. People come to you because they know you will help. They ask you for your opinion because they know you have good judgment. When something goes sideways, your name is the one they call. Now, for a while, that can feel validating. You can tell yourself something like, I must be doing something right. They rely on me. They need me. And to be fair, some of that is true. A good manager should be trusted. And of course, they have to be steady. And a good manager should be someone the team can count on. But there is a line we do not always notice. At some point, being trusted can turn into being overused. Being helpful can turn into being the one holding the place for every decision. Before you know it, you have built a team that knows how to come to you, but not always how to think without you. That is the danger that I want us to look at this season. So let me take you back to that afternoon, that my mom's day off. And back then, those days were rare. When she had one, I wanted to make the most of it. Not in a big fancy way. I just wanted time with her. And I wanted to be with my mother without rushing, checking the clock, without thinking about the clinic. So, what do locals do? We drove up to the Dole Plantation in Wahiawa and got pineapple ice cream. Then we sat outside at one of those picnic tables to do absolutely nothing except to enjoy the ice cream. And that was the beauty of it. The sky was blue, the trade winds were moving through, tourists were walking around us, taking pictures and buying souvenirs. My mom and I were just sitting there side by side, people watching and enjoying the afternoon. Our day off together fall on the same day. Now, when you have lived for years as the person everybody calls, quiet starts to feel like a gift. A simple afternoon with your mother can feel like holy ground. For about an hour, I was not thinking about schedules, supplies, patients, staff tension, doctor's preferences, or what might be waiting for me when I get back. I was not the fixer. I was not the manager. I was just my mother's daughter eating pineapple ice cream on a Thursday afternoon. Then my phone rang. I looked at the screen and I saw it was the office. I wish I could tell you that my first response was peace, wisdom, and healthy boundaries. It was not. My stomach tightened immediately because I knew a call from the clinic on my afternoon off usually meant something had gone sideways. But I also need to be honest about something else. Underneath the irritation, there was a small flicker of importance. It was that little feeling of, see, they need me. Even when I'm gone, I still matter. You know that feeling, right? That is not easy to admit, but it is honest. When you have been the dependable one for a long time, being needed can start to feel like proof of your value. You may not even realize you are feeding off it a little. I did not see it clearly then, but I can see it now. I answered the phone and our senior nurse was on the other end, and the first thing she said was, send so-and-so home. Send her home or I will punch her in the throat. And if you don't, I quit. Now everything in me shifted. There I was sitting next to my mom, holding a cup of melting ice cream, and suddenly my mind was back inside the office. My first thought was, what in the world is happening right now? Then my second thought was, absolutely not. We do not threaten with physical harm, not in my house. Let me give you that backstory. The younger nurse or the newer nurse, she was new, and she had come in with fresh ideas, fresh eyes, and different ways of doing things. The senior nurse had been with us for a long time. She had her own rhythm, her standards, her way of moving through the day, and she did not appreciate the new nurse coming in and changing the temperature of the room. There had been tension between them for weeks. I knew it. I could feel it when they were in the same space. I heard it in their tone. I saw it in their little comments, the silence, the way the room changed when one of them walked in. And here is the part I'm not proud of. I had been hoping this would settle down on its own. I was busy, I had all these things to do. The clinic is busy. There was always something more urgent to handle, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So I told myself they were grown women, professionals, adult, and surely they would figure it out. But conflict does not usually disappear because the manager is tired. It may get quiet for a little while, but quiet is not the same as resolved. The tension waited until I was sitting at a picnic table with my mom, trying to have one peaceful afternoon. That is the part that still gets me. The sky was still beautiful. The breeze was still moving. My mom was still beside me, but I had already left the table in my mind. That is what happens when everything depends on you. You can physically leave the building and still not be free. You can take the afternoon off and still be mentally on call. You can sit beside someone you love while part of you is still listening to the next emergency. That phone call exposed everything I needed to see. For years, I had treated calls like that as proof that I was essential. If they needed me, that meant I mattered. If things fell apart without me, that meant I was important. But on that afternoon, I started to understand that there is a difference between being essential and being trapped. They can look almost the same from the outside. If your team cannot get through one afternoon without pulling you in as their referee, it is not just a personality problem between two employees. It is not only a staffing issue. It may be a leadership development issue. And I say that with a lot of compassion because I lived it. I had a good team. They are hardworking people who cared about patients. This was not some terrible, broken group of humans. But in that moment, I had to face the fact that I had not fully taught them how to carry conflict without turning me into an emergency exit. That phone call also stirred up a memory of my grandpa. We called him Tata. Tata had a farm, and when I was a little girl and my mom got to yelling at me, he would stop her and say, "I don't even talk to the animals that way." I have always loved that line because he was not just correcting her volume. He was teaching dignity. He was saying that even when you are frustrated, there is still a standard for how you treat another living thing. I don't even talk to the animals that way. Can you believe it? It's so cool. Now, years later, listening to a trained nurse threaten to punch a coworker in the throat, somewhere inside me, I could hear my grandpa. I could hear Tata, and I had to face the truth. In a culture I was responsible for leading, I had allowed people to speak to each other in a way my grandfather would not have used on his livestock. That was hard to admit. I was not responsible for every feeling in the building, but I had tolerated the tension longer than I should have. I had walked around it instead of walking into it. I had let the situation stay cloudy because I was busy and because, if I am being honest, being the only one they call made me feel needed. This is where leadership gets personal. Sometimes the very thing that makes us feel valuable is the thing that keeps the team from growing. Every time we answer too quickly, we may be stealing a chance for someone else to think. Every time we step into the middle too soon, we may be preventing people from learning how to handle tension with maturity. Every time we make ourselves the answer, we strengthen the habit of dependence. Now, I want to be careful here because I know why good managers do this. We care. We want the clinic to run well. We want patients protected, and we want the doctor supported. We want the team to get along and feel safe. We want things handled correctly. And most of us did not become bottlenecks because we were lazy or power hungry. We became bottlenecks because we were responsible, committed, and willing to carry things other people could not carry. But care without structure can quietly create dependence. Dependence eventually turns into exhaustion, and exhaustion can start to look like resentment. This is why this season matters. The goal is not for you to become the most needed person in the office. The goal is to build people who know what to do when you are not in the room. The kind of leadership takes patience. It is not as immediately satisfying as jumping in with the answer. It requires you to teach before the crisis, set standards before the explosion, and let capable people practice making decisions even when it would be faster to do it yourself. And yes, in the beginning, it takes more time. But the reward is freedom. Not only freedom for you, but freedom for your team to grow into people who can carry responsibility with confidence. So here is the first tool I want to give you this season. I call it the Bottleneck Count. Pick one workday this week and keep a simple tally. Use your phone or a sticky note, the corner of your planner, whatever is easy. Every time someone comes to you for a decision, make a mark. Do not fix anything yet. Do not announce the system. Do not start correcting everybody because you suddenly realize the whole clinic asks you for everything. Just count how many times they come to you and pay close attention. Now, at the end of the day, look at your tally and review what happened. For each mark, you ask yourself one honest question. Did this truly require me, or has the team been trained to bring this to me? Some questions really do need you. Patient safety, provider preferences, policy issues, personal concerns, and decisions above someone's authority may absolutely belong on your plate. But some questions reveal a different problem. Sometimes it's an employee telling you that the sink is clogged when they should be calling maintenance. Maybe someone asks you to say to a patient because nobody has given them the language. It could be a PA asking about lunch coverage because the standard lives in your own head instead of on paper. Maybe someone brings every conflict to you because the team has not been taught how to address tension respectfully before it turns into an office drama. That is what the bottleneck count shows you. It helps you see where the team needs training, where the system needs clarity, and where you may be carrying things that were never meant to stay in your hands forever. This is where multiplication begins, not with a dramatic announcement or a giant team meeting. It starts with seeing the pattern clearly enough to make a wiser choice. Where am I leading? Where am I rescuing? Where does the team need training? And where have I been answering simply because it is faster? That is the work we are going to do this season. We are going to talk about trust, delegation, standards, conflict, accountability, decision making, and the difference between helping people and holding them back. Because I believe the real legacy of leadership is not how much work you can personally carry. The real legacy is who became stronger because you led them. If this episode is already poking you a little bit, stay with me this season, especially if you are the manager who cannot put your phone down, or you answer the clinic on your day off, or call it normal, or you have good people on your team, but somehow every road still leads back to you. We are going to take the bottleneck apart, one piece at a time. And if you know a manager who's living this, send this message, this episode to her. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is give someone language for what she has been carrying. Now, let me bring you back to that picnic table. That afternoon, I sent both of them home. The doctor was off island, and thankfully we had one more nurse who could cover. I told both of them to go home, sit with what this job meant to them, and come back remembering what we were actually there for. Patience first. I did not pick a side. I did not pretend everything was fine. I stepped tiptoeing around the problem and dealt with what was in front of me. Then I put my phone away and turned back to my mom. That afternoon was not just the day my phone interrupted by ice cream. It was the day I started learning the difference between being needed and building people. And that, my friend, is where we are headed all season long. Until next time, my friend, stand and deliver on courage. Aloha!